Hello, this is Kevin with Easy Step Investing, and I'm going to show you how to make a passive income with crypto. Now, this is going to be a continuation of the previous video where I showed you how I like to calculate the price floor of DRIP. Now, after that video, I received a couple of questions from the community, and I'm going to try to answer those questions in this video. Now, the first question came from a gentleman in the Telegram group, and he was asking about the ratio that was used to calculate the price floor. He wants to know if we can use that same ratio somehow and apply that to the recent all-time high when we went to about $190 to $200 and see if we can use that to forecast a future price or the next all-time high for DRIP. So we're going to answer that question. The second question came from a gentleman from my YouTube channel, and he was asking a question concerning the BNB balance. He wants to know if that BNB that influenced the increase and decrease of the BNB balance came from the reservoir, or does that BNB come from another source? So I'm going to answer that question as well. So let's get it. Now, the first question we're going to answer is concerning the BNB balance and where the BNB is coming from. Is it coming from reservoir or is it coming from somewhere else? And before we answer that question, I want to show you how DRIP liquidity works, because I believe that this will aid us in answering that first question. Now, I know this is complicated, but I just want to point out a few things here. I want to point out exactly where BNB can be found in liquidity. That way, we can better answer the question concerning the BNB balance. Now, as you can see, we have three contracts here. We have the faucet, the fountain, and the reservoir. And the places we can find BNB is here in the fountain. And this BNB comes from buy and sell transactions. We see BNB going into liquidity and we see DRIP coming out. So this is one place where we can find BNB here on the fountain contract. Another place we can find BNB is in the reservoir. We see BNB going into the reservoir pool, and we also see BNB being paired with the DRIP token. Now, this is the second place we can find the BNB token, here in the reservoir. The third place we can find BNB is down here. And what we're seeing here is that BNB is being paired with DRIP from the faucet pool. And this pairing comes from DRIP through that compound transaction. Actually, the 5% tax. That DRIP from the 5% tax goes into the faucet pool, and every so often, DRIP is taken from this faucet pool and is paired with BNB from the reservoir, and that's added to liquidity. This is a third way that BNB actually affects the BNB balance, and I'm pointing this out a little bit more in detail because this is the only place where it's covered. Now, let's go ahead and move forward in this video. Let's dive a little bit deeper into the BNB that we see here on the fountain contract and the BNB that we see here on the reservoir. Let's get it. Now, before we talk about the BNB on the fountain contract and the BNB on the reservoir contract and how that actually influences the BNB balance, I want to show you why BNB is even important. And I'm going to do that by illustrating the relationship between DRIP and BNB and how that's used to get the DRIP price. Now, in this illustration, there's a person buying DRIP from the DEX. Now, when a person buys DRIP, we see DRIP, we're going to see DRIP come out of supply and BNB go into the BNB balance. And what's happening here is that the supply of DRIP is going down and the BNB balance is going up. And whenever that happens, that causes the price of DRIP to increase as well. Now, let's look at this example below to see how we get the price of DRIP and how the different balances of supply and BNB would actually influence the price of DRIP. Now, in the first example, we see here that the DRIP supply is 122,000 and the BNB balance is 3.2 thousand. The BNB price is 403, and that gives us the BNB value of 1.2 million. Now, the way the BNB value is calculated is we're multiplying the BNB balance by the BNB price, and that gives us the BNB value. Now, if the BNB price is higher, then that would actually give us a higher BNB value. But if the BNB price is lower, that'll give us a lower BNB value. And in turn, that will affect the DRIP price. But in this example, we have a BNB price of 403, and that gives us a BNB value of 1.2 million. And then when we divide the BNB value by the DRIP supply, that gives us a DRIP price of $10.57. Now, since we see here that the BNB value is divided by the DRIP supply to get DRIP price, what happens when the DRIP supply goes down and the BNB balance goes up? Now, in the second example, we see that the DRIP supply is 100,000, the BNB balance is 3.9 thousand, BNB price is the same at 403, and that gives us a BNB value of 1.5 million. Now, the reason the BNB value is higher in this example is because we have a higher BNB balance. Although the BNB price is the same, that gives us the same BNB or higher BNB value. Now, when we divide 1.5 million, the BNB value, by the new DRIP supply, 100,000, that gives us a higher DRIP price at $15.71. So instantly we see here that a lower DRIP supply and a higher BNB balance gave us a higher DRIP price. Now, what happens when this happens? When this happens in reverse, when the DRIP supply is higher and the BNB balance is lower. In this example, we see here that the DRIP supply is 130,000, the BNB balance is 3,000, BNB price is the same at 403, and that gives us a BNB value of 1.2 million. Now we have the same BNB value as before here, 1.2 million, and we have 1.2 million here. However, in this example, the price is $9.30. And why is that? Why is this price $9.30 and this one at $10.57, although they both have the same BNB value? Now, the reason the last example has a lower DRIP price is because the DRIP supply is higher. So, and the BNB balance, actually the BNB balance doesn't matter, but the DRIP supply is higher. And since the DRIP supply is higher, that has given us a lower DRIP price. So in this example, we see here that it's important, if we want to have a higher DRIP price, we want a low DRIP supply and a high BNB balance. So now that we know how the price of DRIP is calculated and why BNB is important, let's go ahead and talk more about the BNB in the fountain contract and the BNB in Reservoir. Now let's answer the question concerning BNB balance. The BNB that increases and decreases the BNB balance, does that only come from the reservoir or is it coming from somewhere else? Let's answer that question. Now here in this diagram, we see that we have the fountain and the reservoir side by side, and we can find BNB in both of these contracts. But we also know that some BNB that comes from the reservoir is paired with DRIP from the faucet. And that's through the compound transactions. And when that DRIP is paired with that BNB from the reservoir, it creates an LP, and that's added to the BNB balance. So that's one way that the BNB balance is influenced, but the other way is the fountain and the reservoir. So let's start with the fountain. Now in this illustration, we see an illustration of a buy and sell transaction on the DEX. Okay, now when a person buys DRIP from the DEX, that BNB goes into the BNB balance. However, only 99% of that BNB goes to the BNB balance because 1% is a liquidity provider fee, which is immediately paid to the stakers in the reservoir. The other 99% goes to the BNB balance, and that 99% is what's used to buy DRIP. And this is 100% here because it has this purchase of 99% has a 100% effect on decreasing or buying DRIP and decreasing the supply of DRIP. So this is the second way that we can add BNB to the BNB balance. And the third way is the reservoir. Now, when a person comes in and out of the reservoir, there's a 10% tax. And only 98% of that BNB is added to the BNB balance. And that's because 2% is immediately paid to the stakers in the reservoir. 5% is added to the reservoir pool, and 2% of that reservoir pool is paid to the stakers in the reservoir on a daily basis. 3% of that BNB is permanently locked in liquidity. So that leaves 90% of BNB, which is used to buy DRIP and stake in the reservoir. Half of that 90% of BNB is used to buy DRIP. That creates an LP, and that's added to the DRIP BNB pool and increases or affects the BNB balance. The other 45% is simply added to the BNB balance. So this is another way that the BNB balance is influenced, and it's the reservoir. The other way is the fountain on your buy and sell transactions. And the third way is when BNB from the reservoir is paired with DRIP from the faucet through the compound transactions, and that's added to BNB. Now, one thing I want to show you here is that if you were to look at the contract for the fountain, you will see that there is a BNB balance. However, if you were to look at the reservoir contract, there is not a BNB balance because the BNB that is added to reservoir is being added to the fountain. There is no separate BNB balance for the reservoir. So let's go ahead and go to the reservoir contract. I know a lot of people may not look at this contract, so I think it's important for us to go there. Okay, now this is the reservoir contract, and as you can see here, it says contract name, reservoir. And if we look at the top, we see a balance here, a BNB, and the BNB balance for the reservoir contract is 0. Now that gives us the certainty that the BNB that is added to the reservoir contract is actually added to the fountain or the DEX. And there is no separate BNB balance for reservoir separate from the faucet or fountain contract. Okay, now that we know that the BNB in the BNB balance comes from the fountain and the reservoir, we're going to find the next all-time high for DRIP by applying the same rules that we use to calculate the price floor. But before we find that all-time high for DRIP, let's do a quick recap on how we calculated the price floor. Okay, now what we did is we looked at our current supply on April 1st, which was 93,000. Okay, and we noticed that we had that same supply of 93,000 on October 2nd. But the difference is that on April 1st, the price was $29, and on October 2nd, the price was $10, although the DRIP supply was 93,000. And the reason the price was different is because we have a different BNB balance, which gave us a different BNB value. So this represented a increase of the price floor of DRIP, or a growth of the price floor of DRIP. Okay, so we divided this 6.5 thousand by 4,000, and that gave us a ratio of 1.625, which represents our growth from April 2nd to April 1st. So we took this growth, this rate of growth, and we applied this to the previous price floor on September 27th. And we multiplied this ratio by the BNB balance, which would give us the growth of the price floor. And when we multiply this 1.625 by 3.5 thousand, that gave us a new BNB balance and a new BNB value, which gave us the price of $17. And this $17 was our new price floor based on the rate of growth at 1.625. So this is what we did to calculate the price floor of DRIP. And what we're going to do now is basically apply this same rule in reverse to find the new all-time high for DRIP. So let's do that. Okay, so now let's calculate the new all-time high for DRIP. So we're going to go about this a little bit differently. I could take the rate of growth of 1.625, which we use to calculate the price floor, and multiply that by the BNB balance of the last all-time high, or the current all-time high that we have, and get the new all-time high that way. But we're going to go about this another way. Okay. Now on January 25th, we had our all-time high, which was about $170 on if it's based on the liquidity of Pancake Swap. But on the DRIP website, it was around $190 to $200. And around that time, the supply of DRIP was 27,000 and the BNB balance was 13.5 thousand. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to look at the previous all-time high, and based on that DRIP supply, that BNB balance, we're going to find a new ratio that we can apply to the last all-time high and find the new all-time high that way. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Now, on July 16th, we hit our all-time high of $53, and the supply was 82,000 and the BNB was 14.6 thousand. And after the all-time high, we had our retracement, and on September 28th, we were down to $7 when we hit our bottom. Okay, and there's our supply and our BNB balance. Now on October 28th, we began to see a reversal, and the price went up to $15. Our supply was 82,000 and our BNB balance was 3.5 thousand. Now I want to look at the price chart so we can get a better idea of what's happening here. Okay, now on the price chart, when we went up to $58, okay, around 52 here, but $58, our BNB balance was 14.6 thousand. Okay, once we had that retracement on this date, we hit on September 28th, we hit our bottom, our price floor, and our BNB balance was 3.6 thousand. Then we had a reversal here. We got above the 50-day moving average, and on October 28th, our BNB balance was 3.5 thousand. Now, the reason I chose this date of October 28th is because if we look at right here, the all-time high, our supply was at 82,000, and on October 28th, our supply was also 82,000, but the price was $15, and of course, the all-time high was $53. Now, the difference, of course, is the BNB balance. We have 14.6 thousand here, and we have 3.5 thousand here. Now, that's a significant difference there. And the reason why this is so different is because after we hit our all-time high and began to retrace, there was very little buy pressure. And during that time, the faucet continued to pay out the 1% daily rewards. So that constantly caused the DRIP price to go, the DRIP supply to go up. At the same time, people were selling that DRIP, and that was causing the BNB balance to go down because BNB is paid out. So that brought us down to 3.6 thousand when we hit our price floor. But at the same time, while the faucet is paying out the 1%, well, before I get there, after we went back up to $15, our BNB balance was actually lower. It was at 3.5 thousand. Okay, so although the price is higher, our BNB balance is lower. And the reason why our price is higher is because our DRIP supply was lower than it was when we hit our price floor. It was at $128,000. Now, how is that possible? The reason this is possible is because we went a very long time of having little buy pressure. And while the drip supply was, or the 1% daily rewards are getting paid out, causing our drip supply to go up, the reservoir and also BNB was being paid out for those who were selling drip. The reservoir was also paying out BNB to the stakers in the reservoir at the same time. So the drip supply, the BNB was going down because of the selling of drip, but the BNB balance was also going down because it was constantly paying out, and those BNB rewards are still being paid out to the stakers in the reservoir in the background. So now that we have a better idea of what's happening with the BNB balance and the drip supply, while we have that difference, let's go ahead and go back to the price chart. Okay. Now, after we moved from here, we moved up to our all-time high of about $170, $190, and the BNB balance of 13.5 thousand. And then we had our retracement, which is where we're at today, and the BNB balance is around 6.5 thousand. Now, what I'm going to do here is assume that the price floor is right here at about $32, okay? And what's interesting to note here is that currently, if this is our price floor, our BNB balance is at 6.5 thousand. And our previous price floor, our BNB balance was at 3.6 thousand. So what's happening here is that we're getting we're starting, when we begin to move back up to the upside, we're starting at a higher, with a higher BNB balance. And what that means is that we have the potential to have a higher price, okay? So with this BNB balance of 3.6 thousand, we achieved a BNB balance of 13.5 thousand, and that gave us a price of about $170, $190 on the DEX, okay? So with a higher BNB balance, we should be able to achieve an even higher price, okay? So now, let's go ahead and go back here. And what I want to do is, we pointed out that we're starting with a higher BNB balance, 6.5 thousand here. And our previous price floor is 3.6 thousand, okay? And what I want to do is find the growth. The way we're going to get the ratio is find the growth from this price floor, BNB balance, to the last all-time highs BNB balance, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. And once we get this ratio from these two BNB balances, we're going to multiply that ratio by the current BNB balance to find out, because this is our price floor, we're going to multiply that ratio by the current BNB balance to give us a new BNB balance, and to get the BNB value, and then multiply that value by the drip supply of the current all-time high to get the price for the future all-time high. So let's go ahead and do that, okay? So we're going to divide this BNB balance by the price floor's BNB balance, okay? So here we have 13,500. And we're going to divide that by 3,600. Okay, so the ratio is 3.75. So we're going to multiply this by the current BNB balance, because this is our current price floor's BNB balance. Okay, so multiply that by 6,500. So our BNB balance, once we go back up to this supply, our BNB balance would be 24,000. So our growth, we went from 13,500 to 24,000. Okay, so now we're going to multiply this new BNB balance by the BNB price, okay, which is $427. Okay, and that gives us a BNB value of 10.4 million. And we're going to divide this by the drip supply of 27,000. And that gives us a drip price, new all-time high of $385. Okay, now this forecast or price prediction of $385 is assuming that the BNB price will be the same, which is $427. Now, if the BNB price was to go up, then this price could be higher. It could be over $400. It can be $500. If the price of BNB were to go down, it could be could be less. It can be less than $385. Okay, so there's a lot of variables when it comes to this, because also we could even have a lesser BNB by the time we get to a drip supply of 27,000. But we can also have a higher BNB balance by the time we get to $27,000. But this is just based on the ratio or the rate of growth from our previous price floor to our all-time high. Okay, we just took that ratio, and if we maintain that same rate of growth, then and we have the same BNB price, and we ended up with that BNB balance that we got from multiplying the ratio to this BNB balance, then this could be the price that we will see. Now, what I want to do now is I want to find another way to validate this price, and I want to go back to the Hex price chart and compare that to the DRIP price chart and see what price we get, and see if that forecast or price prediction can validate this price in any way. Okay, so let's do that. Now, on the Hex price chart, okay, we're going to keep this here. On the Hex price chart, the all-time high, we're here. Okay, our last all-time high is right here. Okay, and then we had our correction, and then once Hex found its bottom, okay, it went back up to its all-time high, it pulled back, and then it eventually broke through. Okay, now if DRIP was to follow the same pattern, okay, I'm not saying that it'll pull up here and fall back down. DRIP might pull up here and then break through at this point. Okay, but once Hex broke through its all-time high, it went up 132%. Okay, now if DRIP was to do the same thing, if DRIP was to go up 132%, let's see where the DRIP price would be. Okay, so if DRIP is here, okay, we'll put this down for a second. Okay, if DRIP is here, and then we go from the price floor, we go up to the all-time high, and then we eventually break through. If DRIP was to rise 132%, that will bring us to a price of $399, which is very, very close to that $385 price target. So, yeah, that adds some type of validity to this price prediction, but anything can happen. You know, anything can happen, but this is something that we can look for, and hopefully this answers the question. So today, we answered that question about the BNB balance. Now we know that the BNB in that BNB balance comes from the fountain and it comes from the reservoir, and now we see the ratio for the price floor that we use to calculate the price floor. We see that if we use that same rule in reverse, if we use that same rule to find the new all-time high, the new all-time high price that we have is $385, and we used the Hex price chart to validate it, and which gave us a price of $399. So this could potentially be our new all-time high if this were to hold true. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I know that this video was very long, so thank you for watching until the end. So I'm going to go ahead and end it here. This is Easy Step. Don't forget to like and subscribe.